Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I'm sorry if I disturbing you.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, I would like to interview you about curriculum and syllabus.
Of course.
Okay, for the first question is, why did you apply for a job as a teacher?
I love learning and being in a learning environment, and teaching is a job with a lot of variety. So teaching is a way of serving their communities. That the reason I love this job.
Okay, alright. Next to the second question, tell us about yourself.
I teach at a junior high school at SMPN 1 Seribu Riam in Muarajoloi.
Okay. Next to the third question, do you have any extracurricular skill besides teaching?
Because my school is small and in a small village, so that's no extracurricular in there, so I don't teach extracurricular anymore in there.
Okay, for the fourth question is, how strong is your understanding of the national curriculum and syllabus?
Okay, a curriculum consists of the roadmap or guideline of any given discipline. A curriculum is the combination of instructional practices, learning experience, and students' performance assessment that are designed to bring out and evaluate the target learning outcomes of a particular course.
Okay. Next to the fifth question, how does your degree relate to the national curriculum and syllabus requirements?
Okay, because my basic degree is education, so that's the related of my degree and national curriculum and syllabus.
Okay. Next to the sixth question, are there any areas in the national curriculum and syllabus that you feel you have any weakness in?
I think if we understand about the national curriculum and syllabus, we can apply that the curriculum easy to apply when we learn in classroom.
Okay. Next to the seventh question, how would you connect to the curriculum content with current events to make the lessons more accessible to students?
Okay, first, we have to understand what is happening in the world that students need to know about the grapple with. And the second, how does what's happening in the world connect with the literature, history, civics, science, math, and art we know teachers are teaching. So it's our job to help make this connection to have teachers' time. But of course, our real aim is to help students make them for themselves.
Okay. Next to the eighth question, how would a typical lesson plan look like for you?
My typical lesson plan for me is an objective or statement of learning goals. Objectives are the foundation of your lesson plan. Keep materials together in secure space and labeled for your lesson, and have extra available. Include any links or media that are necessary for your lesson, as well as materials needed. That's my typical lesson plan.
Okay, next to the ninth question is, how do you think today's lesson went?
Sometimes when we say a lesson went well, we mean that we managed to get through the lesson without a classroom disaster. A lesson that's going well is often equivalent to a classroom where students are working, remaining quiet, or appearing engaged. But how do we really know if students are actually learning in class? How do we know if they will remember the lesson tomorrow? Here are some practical ways to take your practice beyond I survived to my student trip.
Okay, what was good and what could have gone better?
I think it was good, but if we want to develop it, it's better.
Okay, sir. Thank you for time for tonight, and tell us about yourself, please.
Okay. Uh, the first I want to introduce myself. My name is Ahmad Rifai. I am a teacher of SMK Negeri 1 Central Borneo. Okay, and I live in Sukamandang B1. And I was teach in SMK Negeri 1 Central Borneo 2 years ago until today. And my age is 22. Okay, thank you.
Okay, sir. For the next question, how do you aid all students? It means for following your lesson.
Okay, when it's easy to teach my student to following my lesson, especially for English. Yeah, the first I always to use Agus something when the student have a problem. When I to explain my lesson. Okay, and the second, I always to make game. Yeah, to make game when the student bored. Nah, this might be my age when student enjoy my lesson.
Okay, that is step by step of you to teach your students.
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you. And for the next questions, what techniques do you use to keep the students from being disruptive and disengaged?
Okay. I have, yeah, I have the technique. This is some technique to keep my student for they couldn't go out when the lesson of English. Yeah. The first, my technique is my student always memorize the vocabulary when especially the English. Yeah. The student always memorize 10 vocabularies, 10 vocabularies, and if the student is not enter or is not covered when my lesson, yeah, especially English, the memories of student always was continue. Cut. The student always add the vocabulary. The first 10 vocabularies, and if the student is not memorized or is not enter to my lesson, yeah, the continue always add 10, always add 10.
Okay, okay.
Now that is my this
Your technique.
okay. That is my technique to keep my student
Okay, okay, okay. So this is your technique. It's like to give your student for memorizing some of vocabularies, maybe 10 vocabularies, and if they come to your class, they can add about the vocabularies. It's like that.
Okay, it's right. Always memorize. But the student is can to submit them. They memorize vocabulary, yeah. Always add and then always like that.
Okay, thank you. And for the next, how do you deal with things if the student are not progressing in the lesson as you had hoped for?
Okay, I have some progress when my student can understand my lesson. Yeah. The first, I always ask, yeah, always ask the student, what if the student have a problem? How to can understood or to can understand to my lesson? I always ask the student first. And the second, when my lesson, yeah, when my lesson to enter the class, especially when I explain my lesson, I always ask to my student, to the student can understood, especially I always ask until the student understood. Yeah, that is my progress when how the student can understood.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. For the next, how do you assess the students' day-to-day methods, some math methods?
Yes, of course. In SMK Negeri Ruyang Tengah, ya, in SMK Negeri 1 Central Borneo, use some math method. How can you know? How can if there is no some math method?
Okay.
For example, if I want to get the student and the full of student, but there is no summative method, but there is no exercise, how can I get the score? Yeah? Summative method is to summative method is to now, yeah, to now outstanding the student.
Okay. Okay, sir. For the next question, how do you monitor student progress and ensure the curriculum is fully covered?
Okay. In SMK Negeri 1 Central Borneo, when I monitoring my student, yeah,
Okay.
my student,
Mhm.
I always give motivation for the student. Yeah, I always give the motivation to the student, and I always give the exercise for the student. And in SMK Negeri 1 Central Borneo, use curriculum 20 and 30.
Okay, for the next, describe your ideal classroom, sir.
Maybe ideal classroom
Yes.
for me.
Okay.
The first active,
Okay.
yeah. Class ideal for me the first active. When I ask something, when I ask especially for my lesson, when I ask the English, the student always active.
Okay.
Yeah. I dislike when I ask but the student is not active
Okay.
or passive.
Mhm.
That is maybe enough for me for the idle class.
Oh, I can get the point about your in your classroom. It's like making your student to be active. That's right. Okay, for the next, how do you make your lesson fun?
Oh, my lesson fun,
Yes.
especially for English.
Yeah.
Maybe in my idea, yeah, in my brain, in my idea, I always use ice breaking, ice breaking. It's like Marina menari di atas
I know.
menara.
Yeah.
It is like to make a student for the spirit to study,
Yeah.
They they are not feel bored when I to teach English language. Maybe like that.
Oh, so you can use ice break, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so for the last question. If I walk into your classroom during one of your typical lessons, what would I see?
Okay. Maybe enjoy. When I to explain my lesson
Yeah.
and you walk in front to my class, I enjoy to explain my lesson. Maybe.
Okay, sir. Thank you for the interview for tonight. I do apologize if I have disturbed your time. Maybe last I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.